Hi, it's Chris Titley here. As part of the Scoreboard podcast series, I'm joined by Dale Morris. Dale, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Dale, I'm going to start with 2024 for you. What's 2024 been like for Dale Morris?
It's been a bit of a crazy year, to be honest with you. And I'll take a step back to 2023, just stepping into coaching really for the first time, because my first stint of coaching at the Bulldogs was cut short due to COVID. But then there was an opportunity up here in Brisbane to start off my coaching journey, my coaching career, and stepped into the development space. And then an opportunity to step up as a line coach, assistant coach, and look after the back line and team defence because Jed Adcock moved on to North Melbourne. And I thought, you know what, why not? Let's go for it. So it's been a steep learning curve in my coaching journey and coaching career. And the way that 2024 finished is just, it was epic. And it wasn't a smooth season, it wasn't an easy season, but it was a season where I got to learn a lot and I got to see some of the best in the business do their thing. So it was pretty unreal.
Did you know much about Brisbane per se as a place, moving up here?
No, so we moved a couple of years ago, not for the opportunity to work at the Lions. It was more a lifestyle choice between myself, my wife and kids. And footy... As a footy player, it can be a bit of a selfish sort of journey where a lot is about you. You've got to prepare, you've got to play, you've got the stress, you've got the pressure, and it can be quite selfish. And that's just the nature of the beast, because you kind of need to be this. You're talking the elite, the top tier of sport in the country. So you need that element of it, but it came to a point when career ended, and it was time to give back. My wife, my kids, I don't like saying sacrifice. They invested so much into me and my career and for me to be the best that I could possibly be. So it was a matter of giving back to them, and their dream was to move to Brisbane.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
as a Brisbane through and through, that's a good dream to have.
Exactly.
And advocacy for the city.
Yeah, and it was a dream for a long time, but then things were starting to turn pretty south in Melbourne with the COVID and everything during that time, and that we had other things going on. My oldest was starting high school in the next year, so it was like, all right, if we don't do this now and make the move, then we probably never will, because we'll be entrenched, he'll be in high school, and it'll make it really, really hard. So we bit the bullet, we sold, moved up here, no job, nothing. It was just all about the family, and we moved. I was lucky enough to land a gig at Engage RM and a sports tech company, and they were fabulous. They were a great place to work for, and then the opportunity to work at the Lions in my coaching career popped up. Had a random missed call from a number I didn't know, and someone on the end of the line saying it was Chris Fagan. So I thought someone was having a bit of a lend of me, but
welcome to Brisbane. Here's the prank.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, we had a chat, and he said, "Come in, let's do a bit of an interview and see if you're keen, if you're interested." And that all came about because Mitch Hahn was working at the club, and they were after another development coach. And Mitchy said, "Well, I know Dale's up here. Here's his number. Give him a call. See if he's keen." And that's how that opportunity came about.
So 2024, sort of a sliding doors moment for you, going back to 2023 when you got the role, come to Brisbane, nothing to do with the Lions. Now sitting here a year later as a part of a premiership, how does that make you feel?
That's crazy. The Lions have been a very successful club for a long period of time already without quite getting there. So to be a part of that, their journey, our journey, and to be able to reach the ultimate is amazing.
And as a Western Bulldogs player your entire life, coming to Brisbane now being part of a different unit, I'm curious to know how that feels or felt initially.
Yeah, well, if you look at it, the colours are fairly similar. They're just different shades of red, white and blue. And I'd only ever known Bulldogs. Even after I finished playing and went into coaching for that short period, and then worked in the corporate space at the Bulldogs. So everything's been Bulldogs.
Yep.
And that's a massive part of my life. And the Bulldogs helped shape me and make me who I am, gave me the opportunities that I've had, and have given me tons. So to come to a new club yeah, it was strange. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. But then the people, and what I learned and what I knew at the Bulldogs is that the place is great, but it's the people that make it great. And walking into the Lions, I had that same sort of feel. The people were fantastic. The culture of the place that everyone there before my time had built up was unreal and is unreal. So I knew and I felt that I was walking into a great place, and there were so many similarities with what I felt with the Bulldogs and the Lions. So it felt comfortable walking in through the doors for those interviews, and then when I started working there.
Can I talk about your relationship with footy post playing to now coaching, but there might have been a gap there? Were you still wanting to be desperately involved in the game?
Well, when I retired, I thought I could have still kept playing. I think that's that competitor in you that thinks you can keep on going and go forever, but clearly you can't. Your body gives way, and the game just moves past you. Whether I never really wanted footy to define who I am, but you can't fight that because it is a huge part of who I am. Because that's what I've done and what I've been able to achieve. And but I never desperately wanted to stay in footy, but I never thought I've got to get out of footy. I was happy either way. And when I was playing, what we'll talk about with that selfishness with footy, and I was very invested in footy, in my footy, and also my family. But I feel at times my family my priorities weren't always in check, and sometimes footy went first and family came second because I was just so invested in footy. And looking back, it doesn't sit well with me, but it helped me achieve what I was able to achieve and do what I did. But I do have those regrets and putting footy first and family second at times. And when I finished, it's been all about family. You know, the family is clearly number one. And I knew that playing footy, but at times you just, those priorities just got a little mixed up. But now it's just been about, like I said, family. So I know footy can take a lot of time away from family. So I wasn't desperate to stay in footy. I love footy, don't get me wrong. But I also need that balance with the family time. Where
do you reckon that love came from? Is a specific, I suppose when you were younger, was there a specific moment or something where you go, this is awesome?
It would have been me and my brothers, and we had close family friends that lived around the corner, and Darren and Brad, and every spare minute we'd play footy. We'd kick the footy, we'd talk about footy, we'd just play footy. We were typical Aussie kids.
Were
footy
you a Bulldogs fan?
Essendon.
Right.
Yeah, okay. we all barracked for Essendon.
Yep.
So it was footy in the winter, cricket in summer, and that was us. They were our sports. I had an older brother, Dean, who was taller than me, so I was up against someone with extra height. And I had a younger brother, Jono, who was faster than me. So I was always up against...
Faster bowler or faster runner?
Everything. But then he moved to spin, so I had him covered.
Shot.
Yeah, exactly. But his cricket took off. So he was the better cricketer out of all of us. And I was able to get the footy side of things going. But getting the footy going, I couldn't have done it without, especially my brothers. My older brother, Dean, he kind of paved the way, made the cannons, started to work his way through the footy journey, and I was able to watch that, firsthand. So he kind of, like I said, paved the way with the footy and the journey and the traditional way of making it, which didn't exactly work for me, but I was able to witness that. And Jono, he's probably as competitive as me, so we'd always push each other, whatever it is. We're all fairly competitive, so he was always pushing me, and he again almost made it into the footy side of things, but things didn't quite go his way.
When you were playing footy at a junior level, did you have aspirations to become a professional football player?
Oh, big time. James Hird, favourite player, watched him play, never looked flustered, never looked out of control, just had the game in the palm of his hands a lot of the times. And that love of the game, playing with my family and friends, just grew and grew and grew. And I always thought to play AFL, you have to go through the TAC. You have to play for the Cannons. Cannons is number one.
Pathway.
Yep. The traditional pathway, and away you go. So I set my sights on playing for the Cannons, and I got to the age where it was time to start trying out. So I'd go and I'd try out for the Cannons, and I'd all these kids, training and trying to get into this one team. It was full on. But I believed in myself, and I'd back myself, and I'd go out there. You make the first cut, make the second cut. And then the next cut, you get the tap on the shoulder, the dreaded tap on the shoulder, and they say, you haven't made it this year. And I'd always want to know why. And so I'd ask, why did I make it? What do I need to work on? And they say, your skills just aren't quite good enough. Okay. So I'd go back and play for Doodle Stars in the EDFL in Melbourne, and no, I've got a clear focus. I've got to work on my skills. So I'd talk to my coaches and stuff, and they'd help me out along the way. The next year would roll on, and it's time to try out again. So, geez, I've got to make this team. If I don't make this team, I'm not playing AFL. So I'd go, I'd train, I'd try. You make the cut. You get to the last cut, like the last possible cut of making the Cannons. Tap on the shoulder. And it's like, oh no. And haven't quite made it. Devastating, and I said, why? Why haven't I made it? I look around, I look at these kids, and I'm like, I feel like I'm better than them. Like skills are better, got a bit more pace, really competitive. What do they have that I don't have? And they said to me, you're just not quick enough. And I knew I was quick enough. That was one attribute that I had was pace. That I had some good pace off the mark and closing speed and stuff. So it really, really hurt. Watching these kids over the moon made the team. I'm thinking, geez, they're starting their career, their AFL career, and here I am in the back of the car in tears going home thinking AFL is done. A teenager, and you're thinking it's over. So it was heartbreaking for me, and I had great support from my family and friends and things, and my local footy club, Doodle Stars, who now they're Essendon Doodle Stars Football Club. They knew about my aspirations, so they helped. As a 17-year-old playing at Doodles, they recruited a player, Simon Minton-Connell, ex-AFL player, and I was able to do a lot of work with him and a lot of players at Doodles at the time. And he was a full forward, and I was a young fullback in the seniors, just having a crack. And after playing a year in the seniors at Doodles, Simon comes to me and he goes, I think you've got something. He goes, I've got some mates at the Bulldogs. I want you to go down and train and try out. Nothing might come of it, but it might get your foot in the door. And back then they had a rookie day, a tryout. You'd train for a couple of days for the rookie spot at the Dogs. So I'd still nominate for the draft and everything just in case, but I was like, you know what? All right, let's do it. So we go down to the Dogs and I'd train. And I wasn't massive as a kid, and I'm training up against these guys like they look like full-blown men.
Yep.
And so I'm up against them, and they're doing competitive drills and all these sorts of drills, and gave it everything. A couple of days, and I was knackered by the end of it. Gave it absolutely my all. At the end of it, the Dogs came to me and they said, not quite, but we want you to come and play for Werribee in the VFL. They're our affiliate team. So whoever doesn't play in the Bulldogs, they go back and they play for Werribee. We can keep an eye on you and watch you develop and progress. And they said, you know what? You never know. You never know. And I was like, let's do it, Mum and Dad hated it because they had to drive from West Meadows to Werribee 3 nights a week because they didn't have my licence. And so I put a bit of strain on them. But for the next 4 years, I went and I played for the Werribee Footy Club in the VFL. Started in the Development League and then was able to move my way up and get into the seniors for the last probably 2.5 years at Werribee. And during that time, I'd also send my videotape to all the AFL clubs. It started off with the VCRs.
Yep.
And then it moved
the
to...
VHS, yep.
Yeah, and then it... the VHS. And then it moved to...
Well, the VCR went into the VHS.
Yeah, that's right. And the DVDs.
Yep.
And then the USBs.
Blu-ray? What about Blu-ray?
Yeah, so I evolved with technology as well over the years. And Mum and Dad were great. They helped me put all that stuff together.
These kids don't
before
know.
all that. So you'd have to mail them out and everything. And each year, there was only a few clubs that ever got back to me. The Dogs were always one of them.
Right, okay.
And I got letters from a couple of other clubs as well. But the Dogs would always get back. So at the end of each year, I'd also go and do a pre-season with the Dogs to try out and hopefully get rookied, maybe drafted if I'm really lucky. And the way I looked at it was, if I don't get picked up, I'm going to be that fit and ready for the VFL season that I'm going to be ahead of everyone else. So it's going to give me a leg up for the season, and then hopefully that's going to improve my chances to ultimately get drafted.
That's a fascinating way of looking at a trial, really, or a camp, I suppose, is the massive positive to go, well, I'm competing with people that potentially, may be selected, therefore probably better than me, but therefore if I go back, then I'm going to be better than this group, so then I can improve.
Yeah. Well, these were AFL pre-seasons. I'm training with Scotty West, Brad Johnson, Chris Grant, and I'm running around with these guys going, whoa, how good's this? And again, I had nothing to lose because I can take everything that I learn, everything that I can develop back to the VFL and implement that. And then during the VFL season, I get to play against AFL listed players. And each year I'd come up against AFL listed players and I'd start beating them. And the belief started to go, say, you know what, if I can just get a chance, I reckon I'll go all right. I know I can beat them. So I just need to show someone and get on a list. So every year for 4 years, I'd try it for the rookie spot at the Dogs. And each year, almost. And on my last year, again, train, do the pre-season, try out, and then not make it, go back, play VFL. And then on that last year, I thought, if I don't make it now, I'm getting too old to get rookied. Because it was a cutoff, I think it was 23. If you're older than that, you're too old to get rookied. I'm getting too old, So what am I going to do? I started talking to local footy clubs about getting $400 a game, upping my hours at Claudio's IGA in West Meadows because I needed cash. I was a young man wanting to go out.
All your friends have sort of got jobs or whatever it might be.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll never forget that pre-season at the Dogs, that final one to get rookied. We would have been about 11 kids trying out, most we've ever had. I was like, that'd be right.
The year
that I have to make it.
Yep.
And we trained and we go hard, all of us did. And we just picked up a new coach, Rodney Eade. And Rocket, it was called Rocket for a reason, and we learnt pretty quick why it was named Rocket, because he could give a fair spray. And I remember the training, I had a few coaches in my corner that had seen me over the journey, and Leon Cameron, Alan Richardson and Chris Bond. And they really pushed my case. And they said, listen, this kid's got something, and pushed. It got to the point where they had to pick the players. And the rookie draft came, and they rookied someone who wasn't even training in that 11. Rowan Nainer picked him up.
Again, sort of the another
eye roll. It's like, come on, you got to be kidding me. And so they had one more pick. And I thought, well, I don't know. But during this time, one by one, Rocket was calling all the guys trying out for the rookie spot into his office. And one by one, they're coming out disappointed because they're not picking up. And then it was my turn. And I come in, Rocket's sitting there, and he goes, Dale, listen, you've trained really well. We're really happy with your progression, but... The but. Not the but. And they said, but unfortunately, we're going to rookie you. And I was like, oh, that's okay. I was like, hang on. What was that? And he goes, you're getting rookied. And the smile on my face and the skipped out of the room, and that training session was one of the hardest ones we did all pre-season, but I did it with a huge smile on my face, and now the rest is history. So there was a lot of lessons learned and a lot of resilience over the years and over the journey to get just an opportunity. But having that positive outlook on things and leaving no stone unturned and just having a crack and seeing where it ended up ultimately gave me that opportunity, and that network and support that I had from the coaches, the family, the friends and everyone all came to that point in time.
Lacing your boots up for the first game for the Bulldogs, how clear is it, the memories?
Crystal. Never been to Marvel Stadium before that, or back then, what was it, Colonial or Telstra or one of those. Never been to the stadium before. So this is my first time going in. My first game, Chris Grant's 300th game. To to celebrate my first game with a club legend in his 300th was incredible. To say I was nervous was an understatement, but I also had this sense of calm and readiness because of the journey I'd had in the 4 years at Werribee, playing on AFL players, tall and small, and holding my own and beating them. I knew that I was ready. The nerves came because I just wanted to play well, but the calmness came knowing that I'd done the work. And running out on the ground, the cheer of the crowd and the smell of the grass was absolutely everything I'd visualised since a kid on playing my first AFL game, and then some. So each night, or many nights a week, I'd lie there and I'd visualise and I'd dream and I'd think about what would it be like playing AFL. Running out and hearing the crowd going nuts. The smell of that grass, the feel of the air, and using all your senses and almost getting chills up and down your spine like you're actually there. And then to have that moment was incredible. Rolling out, first opponent, Mark Rasciuto. I come out and I'd always shake hands with my opposition as a sign of respect. Every game, shake their hands, wish them well because it's a game.
Yep.
We're there to compete against each other. Once that handshake's done, it's on. And I learnt that quickly against Adelaide, round 5, 2005, in my first game. Shake Mark Rasciuto's hand. Good luck, mate. He goes, well done on your first game. Oh, thanks. Bang. Massive elbow in the guts. I'm down on my haunches. I can hardly breathe, being winded. The ball gets kicked out to the wing. He takes off and I'm trying to run and I'm winded and going, holy shit, what is this? Ball goes out and I'm like, whew, this is on. And then at quarter time, Rocket comes to me and goes, Andrew McLeod's getting off the chain. You're tagging him. Tagging him everywhere. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And was able to hold my own and beat him. Luke Darcy put on a show and kicked the bag. We're able to get up and win. Got the Gatorade shower at the end, celebrate with friends and family. And it was, everything I'd ever dreamed of and more.
The dream of playing AFL football as a kid, which you visualised and it ended up coming to fruition and everything more than that, after game one, what were you thinking in your head around, the next dream?
As a player, I always played on the edge. I always thought this could be my last game. I might get dropped next week, career could be done. So it's probably not a healthy way to look at things because you're always, there's a lot of stress involved in footy. But getting that taste of the first game, I never wanted to let that go. And luckily enough for me, I wasn't dropped my whole career, which I guess that mentality of thinking this could be your last game, you're going to leave it all out there. And I always say to my kids is, if you try your best and give it everything you've got, you'll never fail. And that's exactly what I did. Went out with every game to give it absolutely everything I had for the fear of there may not be the next week. But the ultimate goal for every football player should be to win a flag. And that's what I was then visualising and dreaming about and thinking about it. That little Oz kicker putting the medal over your neck, you're giving them the hat, giving them a high five. The crowd noise, the grass smell, the feel, going through moments in games, winning those moments, taking those moments, and ultimately doing your best for the team. Not being the best player on the ground, but doing what you can for the team to get the result for the team. So that was my next dream, I guess.
So in your career, 253 games for the Bulldogs, a little bit of research, 213 games before the grand final.
Yep.
And you've coming on to the grand final in 2016. The visualisation has been in your brain for 213 games.
Yep.
Can we talk about that day?
Oh, incredible. Everything I'd visualised there were no surprises. Running out on the ground.
Had you been to a grand final as a spectator?
Yeah, during our time at the Dogs, we went during the Sydney West Coast Grand Finals as a team to experience a grand final. So I got that feeling of what a grand final is like, and they were two epic games. And that they were
Came down to moments, which we'll talk about in a second, right?
No, exactly, and that's what I learnt and what I took away, and from watching so many grand finals over the years and not playing in it, and it would infuriate me that I wasn't playing. I'd hate it. I'd never watched all those years. I'd never watched the final siren. I couldn't. I wanted to be there for the final siren
as a player.
Yep. As a player, I wanted to experience the final siren on grand final day as a player, not sitting watching TV and not being a part of it. So I'd always remove myself from the room and not watch that and see the joy on the players' faces and hear the song, because I wanted that for me and my team.
The night before, do you remember it? Did you sleep well? Were you calm? Were you nervous? And then running out onto the ground to hear that roar.
Surprisingly, slept very well. At an old house in Melbourne, we had a granny flat out the back, and sleep was very, very important for any athlete. And for me, we prioritised that. So the night before every game and the night after every game, I go and sleep in the granny flat. So that's 2 nights of really good sleep that I'm going to get for the game and then for recovery. But that also meant that my wife was left inside looking after 2 boys that didn't sleep well, that were up all night, and she was probably stressed, if someone came in the house or something happened or there's noises or whatever. So that's over 500 nights of sleep that I owe my wife, because she gave me 2 nights of sleep during the career. And
you've done the maths on it already.
Yeah, she's been slowly chipping away on those, but sleep was a priority. And before the grand final, didn't change, but the whole visualization that I'd been doing and the journey that I was on, I was nervous, but I wasn't that nervous that I wouldn't sleep. So I'd go to bed, normal time, normal everything, and slept really well. So yeah, slept fine the day of the game. And during that final series, I was also managing, I fractured my back. So there was a lot going on and a lot of uncertainty, even the week into the grand final, whether I'd play or not. I knew in my head that I'd play, but I had to do fitness tests and things, and had to do a sneaky fitness test on a Wednesday on the day off. And funny story, actually. So I go in there to do the fitness test for my back and Achilles, and had some things going on. And usually media aren't going to be there on a day off. But Peter Gordon decided to pull his own media get together on the balcony at Winton Oval to promote the grand final and to have a chat. So we open the roller doors. I'm about to run out. The coach is going, go back inside, because all the media are up there. Yeah, and so we're waiting and we're watching the clock, and they're on the phone to the media team going, what the hell's going on? We've got to get rid of him. Moz needs to train. It's a fitness test. And so they start ushering everyone out. There were only a couple of media that were like, that's odd. Let's hang around. There must be something going on. And we were all fenced off, but they were able to find a little hole in the fence and film, and they filmed me training. I didn't know that. So I get through the fitness test. Everything's fine. My son's there and stuff, and they're just watching. And then I'm leaving. Camera, boom, in my face. Everything all right? I was like, oh, yeah, everything's fine. Just come in, get some treatment and stuff. And they go, did you train? Nah, didn't train. No fitness test, everything's fine. Nah, it's a day off. I don't train on a day off. Not knowing that they filmed the whole thing. And so they finish and drop the cameras and everything, and they go, listen, we filmed you train. I was like, what? Why didn't you tell me? And said, well, we wanted to see what you're going to say. They didn't run it and all the rest of it, but it made me look like a dill there for a minute.
And to the grand final, there's been a few blowout grand finals. There's been very close grand finals. Yours is one etched in history as being a close grand final, and you talked about moments in life, and you made 653 tackles in your career, but you're well known for one particular moment towards the end of the grand final. Can you talk about that moment and how that, I suppose, is a culmination of all this blood, sweat and tears that you've got to the point of the grand final, and then those last 5 minutes?
Yeah, I'll take you back firstly. So at the Dogs, we made prelims 8, 9, 10. And there was time, I feel we had a really, really good team back then, and should have won. Should have made grand finals. And looking back and reflecting during those games, we didn't because there were moments in the game that we didn't, that me personally, that I didn't win and that I didn't take. And I learnt so much during that time and never wanted that to happen again. Then 16 rolls around, and yes, I've got my moment, but you watch that game back, it is full of amazing moments. Shane Biggs on the half-forward flank, fighting and scrapping, multiple efforts to win that ball. Zane Cordy's goal from the boundary line was incredible. Tom Boyd's massive kick. Jordan Roughhead takes a clutch mark in the middle of the ground. Easton Wood, Matthew Boyd, all these boys had moments and took them. And I guess my moment on Buddy, I knew I'd always do a lot of research on my opponents coming in. I'd study them, I'd look at what they're really good at and work out how to beat it, but I'd also look at what they're not so good at and how I might be able to expose that. And I'd also look at other things on maybe what they're like during the game and what's worked, whether getting stuck into them, roughing them up, hitting them, whether they go missing, or whether giving them space and maybe just talking to them, keeping them calm, puts them off their game. And I saw with Buddy in previous games, and I learnt lessons on this as well, that if you get stuck into him, it almost fires him up and he wants to prove a point. So I didn't want to do that. And I also saw with Buddy that overhead marking wasn't his best strength, and he'd tend to double grab with overhead marks.
The tap to the second catch, the comfort tap into my arms. Yeah.
He'd still be able to take that one mark clunk, but percentages said that a lot of the times it was going to drop for that easy chest mark or take the mark out in front of him. So I knew there was a window. There was an opportunity that if there is an overhead mark that Buddy's going for, there's a chance to swat the ball away before he takes that second grab. And during that play, I was in great position on Buddy. I'd beaten him to the outside. Sydney was shaping out from a kick in, I reckon, but then they cut inside. So my positioning has gone from really, really good, strong positioning to now I'm vulnerable. He's got the middle. So I quickly had to adjust, and the kick goes straight to him. And Buddy's a beacon. They'll kick it to him wherever he is. And the ball, I noticed, was up high. So he's going to try and take an overhead mark. So I've scrambled to get to him, and I can't beat Buddy if he's jumping and stretched up. I can't reach. I'm not tall enough. I can't out-jump him. So I needed to take my moment in that window. The ball comes in, goes up, and he's going for the double grab. So I was able to swat the ball away on that when he went for that second grab. And the ball spilt out, and Sydney were able to get onto it. And I stayed to provide shape at the contest. I didn't want to leave and open up the front of the contest because they're going for it. And I thought that they were going to come and just try and go through the contest. But Buddy spat out through the middle, and they saw him and they handballed it out to him. I thought I'd lost us the grand final. I thought I'd stuffed up here. I've let Buddy go. So I've just put my head down, and I knew I had to make up for it. I knew that I had to just go and get him. And when he gets it, and he hurt his ankle in the first quarter, and I reckon that was playing on him a bit because Buddy shaping for a left footer through the middle would cut. He's an elite field kick, and he would have hit someone. But I reckon that little niggle that he copped in the first quarter just made him have an extra step to straighten up. So he gets it. His back's turned to me. I'm closing space, and he doesn't see me. And I know he doesn't see me, so I know there's an opportunity there. And because he takes that extra step to turn into the middle, I was able to tackle, and I knew I had to pin his arms and swat the ball away because he is strong and he'd fight the tackle. And it was able to be executed perfectly. I get him to ground. I'm buggered. I haven't been on the bench. I'm cramping. I'm thinking, geez, what am I going to do with this kick? But Tom Boyd comes and swoops on the ball. He picks it up, and he launched the biggest kick I've ever seen from the square, and the sound that ball made, the thud, and he just hit it so pure. And I'm lying on the ground, arms around Buddy, looking at this, and just go boof. And the shape of that ball coming in, it was like someone had it on a rope and was pulling it through the goals, and it kept coming and coming and coming and coming, and then it bounced. And when it bounced, it looked like it bounced straight up from where I was. I was like, oh no. But it bounced through and I saw the crowd go absolutely bananas. And then I turn and I see Tom Boyd with Toby McLean on his shoulders just running around down the wing, and I thought that was epic. And I'd spoken to Boydie many years after, and I said to him, were you always going to do that? Or, I don't get many kicks. Could you at least let me have the free kick? Did you hear the umpire? He goes, no, I didn't hear the umpire blow his whistle. I thought it was play on. So that's why I took it.
Yep.
So what would
That's happened a few times in grand finals.
Yeah, it has.
Noise. Yep.
Yeah, and you don't hear the umpire blow the whistle, and can go both ways, good and bad, as we've seen. But I said, what would you have done if you heard the whistle? He goes, I would have stopped. I wouldn't have taken the kick. Yeah, I would have taken time, set up and structure, and you take the kick.
He took his moment too.
Yeah, I was like, well, thank God you didn't, because I can't kick over a jam tin.
Yeah. and then with the last few minutes, thinking that there was a point there where you're probably ahead, you're going, well, we're going to win it.
No. Every game I'd play it out till the whistle with a free kick and all the rest of it. A pet hate of mine is you see someone tackle, they take them to ground, and they look at the umpire, they lift an arm, and they're like appealing to the umpire. Don't do that. Let the umpire. You take care of what you can take care of. You can't control if he's going to pay the free kick or not. Play to the whistle. So everything you do, just play to the whistle. Hold him, wrap him. If it's a free kick, the umpire will pay it. If it's not, it'll be ball up. By you doing this, he's not going to change his mind. So would play everything out to the whistle, played every game out until the siren. And so Toby McLean takes the final mark and he's having a set shot. There's seconds to go. And I'm screaming out, set up the zone, get over there, get here. And I don't want to let this slip. Ruffy runs past me. He goes, bugger the zone, we're premiers. I said, don't you say that, get in your zone. And I was hell-bent on not letting this slip. And we didn't need the zone because the siren went. But there was not one time did I look at the scoreboard and say, we've got this. It was more, okay, let's keep going.
It's a mindset, I reckon, from your point of view, that others, obviously there was impossible that they were going to win with 3 seconds to go. But the mindset of like, let's get to the whistle. When the whistle blows, that's the end of the game. And in your head, now you can relax a little bit.
Yep. Definitely.
And the visualisation of the Auskick kid putting the medal on, how do you describe it in terms of your dream versus reality at that moment?
Again, it was everything that I dreamt of, and probably more, to be honest. To have that little jog up the stairs.
Like 7 seconds.
That's all it is.
Yep.
But it felt so much longer. And it was so special, not only for me, but for my family, for my friends, for everyone who'd converted from those Essendon supporters to Bulldog supporters. As soon as I got drafted, to being there every step of the way and supporting me, my wife, my kids, investing in my career just as much as I had, my mum, my dad, my brothers, everyone. It all culminated to that moment. And to come up and jog up and see, and jogging to that stage and be like, it's happening. This is it. And the Auskicker standing there with the medal, and you're coming up going, this is incredible. And then I just didn't want to stuff it up. He puts it on, you put the hat on, you give the high five, and it's like, wow, that was epic. Very special.
Before we get on to some characteristic traits of you where you can sort of say yes or no, I am that type of person, I'm interested to know what advice you're giving to some of the Lions now that have experienced that moment. Some might have been 19 or 20 years old, and some at the end of their career, that special moment now coming into the following season to go again.
My only a regret of mine is I didn't visualise winning 2 medals or 3 medals. It was all about the one, and then you win the one. It's like, now
the scoreboard changes.
Yeah, it does. It does. But every year and every preseason, I'd go with the goal of making finals. You've got to make finals to give you a chance to win the grand final. So whether we could have been the worst team in the competition, I'd still have the goal at the start of the year our goal is to make finals and then win finals, win a flag. Each year was to win a flag, but the goal was you got to be in the finals. You got to be in it to win it.
And both years, Bulldogs and Lions, very unique.
In their own way.
Yep.
Coming outside the four.
Yep.
Ryan Lester always joked to me that the recent premiers, there's always an outlier, and the outlier was the Dogs because they win it from outside the 4. Now there's 2 outliers. It's the Dogs and Brisbane. So they'll be talking about the Dogs and the Lions as the outliers. But the difference being, Lions have been successful for a long period of time. Top 4, best team, could have won flags before this one. Dogs almost came from nowhere. And whether people say snagged one early or whatever they might say, but hadn't had that long period of success. So we get the win, and probably out of the blue a little bit from 7th. And you got to remind yourself that we were 7th. We weren't the best team in the competition.
There were 6 teams above you at the end of the year, right?
We only just got in. Yep. We had to fight and scrap and got in and made 7th.
And you had to stay undefeated, as did the Lions, yeah?
Yeah. So the Dogs get 7th. The expectation is next year, premiership favourites. So, well, hang on. We weren't even top 4. So we still saw ourselves as that team, but the weight of expectation, I think, maybe got on top of it. We became the hunted.
Which the Lions potentially will be next year.
Yes, definitely. And again, the difference being the Lions have been, I reckon they've been the hunted for a lot longer because they've been such a successful club, making grand finals, making prelims, being in the finals for a long period of time, that the players that are there, it's nothing new. We've had this before. The only difference is now we've won the flag. So maybe there's a little bit more of a sharper edge with being the hunted, but we're still hunting. We're not looking at this as a one-off. You want to create a dynasty. You want to create something special. And so yes, we got it last year, but this started a while ago. So I've come in now, but there's players there and coaches there that have been building this for a long time. So that whole complacency bit, I don't think will be there. And we'll come in with the same goals, the same motivations, the same determination as we did this year, next year. And in the same breath, there's going to be teams that are going to improve. There's going to be teams that are going to want that mantle. And that's the nature of the beast. You saw it this year, teams improve out of sight. So it's going to be an interesting year, and you can't afford to be off, 1%, 2%, 3%. The competition's way too even. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all goes.
All right, let's get on to some fun stuff. I'm going to throw a word at you, and you're going to say whether you're that person or not, and potentially why. I'm going to start with confident.
Yes.
You're a confident person.
I'm confident in myself. I'm confident in my ability. I'm confident that I know what my ceiling is with my ability when it comes to my ability. I'm not a amazing kick who can dart a ball 50 metres, but I know what I'm good at. I
your
know
superpower, as Paul Roos put it in a previous interview.
Exactly.
Knowing your superpower.
Exactly. And you need to know what you're good at. You need to know what you're not so good at and work on that as well. But you also need to work on what you're good at, what you're really good at, what sets you apart. And I use that, and there would be players in the team when I was playing, they would compliment what I'm not good at. So I'd one-on-one beat my opponent, take a mark, there's JJ run a pass for a handball. There you go. Because he's better kick than me. Knowing what's best for the team is having that team first attitude will go a long, long way.
I know the answer to this. I'm going to throw it out anyway. Resilient.
Yep.
And we haven't talked about the injuries, but you've talked about your pathway to get, which in its own right is learnt a fair bit of resilience early on in your career.
Yeah, definitely. And that wasn't all smooth sailing either. There were injuries, scaphoid, hammies, everything in the VFL, and then the bad ones came later in the AFL. But it builds resilience. It tests how badly you want this. And it can help shape like all that stuff that happened and not making it. If I'd have made it as an 18-year-old, would I have been there at 36? Maybe, probably not. But starting later, playing against these players that I did, building that resilience, that things aren't always going to go your way. And as a defender, you're not going to win every contest. Your oppo is going to kick goals, but being able to box that and move on and deal with it later and build that resilience is super important. And that's what helped me later on.
Superstitious.
I am. If a football player tells you they're not, they're lying. There will be something there that they do that means nothing at all, but helps them play the best that they can. Me?
Yeah.
Righto. I'd always wear blue jocks. Always wear blue jocks to play. Blue was a winning colour, so I'd wear it. Lacing up my boots, I do left foot first, right foot second, all the time. Don't know why. Just did. Never used my left foot, so it didn't really matter.
Yep.
Shake hands with the oppo before every game was another one. Whether it's a superstition or not, the sleep before a game in my own room. I guess a little bit.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a superstition. I don't know.
Yeah,
what
routine.
People's sleep patterns
and that's
are.
the thing, routine and superstition. It's
okay.
a fine line between the two of them.
Yeah.
I guess they were the main ones for me. I'd always bring my own socks.
Okay.
I never, players get given socks each week from the property steward, but I'd always keep my own, wash them, and there's, on the AFL socks, there's a little AFL logo, right? And sometimes when the property steward, they do the washing and pair the socks, both logos will be facing the same way. I'd like them facing out on both legs. So if I had odd socks, the AFL logo on my left would be pointing out and on my right would be pointing, I couldn't do it. So I'd unfold a lot of socks to find the opposite one so they're pointing out. I couldn't play with the AFL logo pointing the same way. It meant nothing at all.
To anyone, but now you've shared it to the world, so that's great. Well, hopefully they will. Empathetic.
Yes. Yeah. You need to be empathetic. You need to understand what people are going through and be able to relate with them. It's a key attribute, I feel. Definitely.
Serious.
Yeah.
You're a serious person?
There's times when you need to be serious, yes, definitely. Don't get me wrong, I played footy for the fun, but I'd like to call it serious fun because it's not all fun and who cares and be blasé. This is serious fun. You want to get out there and you want to have fun, but there is a very serious element to playing AFL footy. There's injuries, there's careers. Being an AFL player is a very strange job. Close mates, very close mates when I got drafted. And we're all fighting for one position. I was lucky enough to get that position, which ultimately cost my mates their jobs, which ultimately they get delisted and have to look for other jobs. And over the journey, and lucky enough to play a long career, and then players come and go and your mates, you're with them every day and then all of a sudden they get delisted and they're not there anymore. You still see them outside of footy and stuff like that, but it's a very, very strange job, unique job where you're competing against your mates for the same job, which can then either cost you or them their career.
Structured.
Yep.
Goes along a little bit with that superstition, I suppose, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. It does.
So you sort of, if something's a little bit amiss, you feel it.
I used to be very, very structured, probably the majority of my career until I hit about late 20s, early 30s when you have kids and structure's out the window.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, very structured with what I ate, when I ate, with everything that I did, because if I didn't, I can't play well. And then you soon realise when you have kids in particular that there's key things that you need to control the controllables. Those things that you can, what you eat, you can control. When you eat it, sometimes you can't because the kids are messing up. They could hurt themselves. You've got to run them to the doctors. You've got to do these things. But you can control what you're eating. Whereas before I needed to control everything about that. So that structure, it didn't completely go out the window, but it had to be more flexible because life happens. You can have the best laid plans and structure in the world, but spanners get thrown in the works. You talk about injuries during the Dogs in 16, and I injured my back and fractured my back there after the first final against West Coast, we played against Hawthorn at the MCG. And that was, I had injections in my back, nerve killing injections to be able to play because of the pain and things. After playing that game and flying back, the day of the Hawthorn game at the MCG, I woke up and I could not move. And you talk about, I like to get up and stretch and move, and I was stiff as a board. I rang the physios at the Dogs and I said, we're in trouble. I can't move and it kills. They said, get your stuff. I'm usually early. I get there, a few hours before the game where everyone's a couple of hours. I'd get there super early.
So you'd get there when there's you can hear a pin drop.
Yep.
You can just, and are you visualising?
Yep. It's the calm before the storm. I like to get there and we played a lot of games at Marvel. I'd get there. The trainers are still setting up. They haven't even put the sponsors' logos on the walls, but it just became second nature. Oh, Moz is here. Yep. Beautiful. And
what? Just on that, what was your best time to play that you thought?
I liked the Arvo games,
the Saturday or Sunday Arvo games.
Yep.
Okay.
So the grand final time slot, I love that time. So you get up, you eat, you go, you play, you get home, you can eat, you can get a good night's sleep.
You're starting to. From the sleep, you're getting a little anxious.
So night games, you'd finish by the time you cool down, you have your meetings, you do all that, and you get home, it's late, like 11:30.
And then you're off to the bed, right? By yourself.
No, but you can't sleep. Yeah. I'd be out there. So I'd sneak inside and I'd always get...
Yeah.
I'm fairly strict with my diet during the week, but then after the game, it's just anything goes. Have whatever, spoil yourself. So I'd go to Macca's and get whatever, because that'd be the only thing that was open as well for night games. So I'd get home, not make any noise, go out the back door, straight in the granny flat, sit on the couch, Macca's everywhere, Xbox on, ready to go.
Didn't watch the replay?
No.
Okay.
So, but I was a shocking sleep. Could not sleep.
After the night games?
No, couldn't sleep. So I'll be lucky to get 3-4 hours sleep after a night game. And I didn't have to review the game because after every game, my parents would ring me. And between them, they never missed a game, right? Interstate, at least one would go. So after every game, I'd get a call. If I'd played a good game, Dad would call. If I played a not so good game, Mum would call to make sure I'm okay. Dad wouldn't talk to me for a couple of days, and then he'd ring me and go, "What the hell are you doing?"
So they had a little conversation. You reckon they were going, "It's good about no, you call."
Yeah, pretty much. They're assessing my game on the way home, and then they knew when I'd be driving, and if it was Mum,
and
it was
you'd see who was ringing.
Mum's ringing, going, "Geez, was I that bad?" Where's Dad? So I had instant feedback from all of that, but definitely that day time slot was the best way to play. But I'd, again, get there super early for the calm before the storm. I'd get out on the ground, and we're playing at Marvel Stadium with a roof over the head, so the surface never changed, but I'd check the surface. I'd go out and see how soft it is. I'd take my moulds, my screw-ins and my hybrids to every game, just in case I need them. And I'd take a spare pair if I have a blowout and if something would happen. I'd take multiple socks for the same reason.
How's your suitcase for an overnighter in Sydney?
I'm a serial overpacker. It's massive. But I'd go out there and I'd pace the ground. I'd start in the middle. I'd go down to the square. I'd check the 50, check the other 50 in the square.
Just
go
to make
to the
sure
wings.
it's all lined up and everything.
Yep. The ground never changed, but I'd do the same thing. But for me, it was all about the preparation, because as soon as that siren goes, anything can happen. So it was about just ticking those boxes. I'm ready. Whatever the game throws at me now, I've got it. So it gives you a sense of calm and readiness for that chaotic beast, which is the game. I didn't play a good game every game, but I felt ready for every game, whether that's looking at my opponents, checking the ground out, overpacking my suitcase or my footy bag. I never sat there and stressed and thought, have I got this? Have I done that? It was just tick. You just get ready to play now.
One final question. You're a visualizer. I can sense that. You've told me about the visualization, playing your first game, getting the AFL medal. Now you're sitting here as working with the Lions. What's the visualization for Dale Morris now in the future?
Yeah. To be honest, I battled with this when I finished because it's so clear when you're playing footy what that ultimate goal is. So great, I'll visualise, I'll think it, I'll dream it, I'll feel it, I'll do all that. And then when I finished, it was a bit of, what now? What am I going to think about? And it took a little while, but then what are my priorities? My family, and visualising, having fun with them, giving them everything that they deserve, and paying back everything that they've given me and things really helped me with that visualisation. And that's going to look different for everyone. Because everyone's got their own kids and circumstances and whatever, and their dreams as a family on what they want. But at the same time, and when I got the gig at the Lions, I was like, how cool would it be to win a flag as a coach? Even though I was a development coach. And so you start lying back and thinking up in the box, grand final, geez, it'd be nice if we're smashing them at half time and cruising to third quarter and
the final just happened.
Knowing that we've got it.
Actually, not till the final siren, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit different when you're a coach, but you still don't take the foot off the gas. But you do look up and go, geez, we're going all right. And then we got it. But learning my lessons from Dogs days, it's like, let's do it again. Then again. And how many can we do? And so it's a bit of an open book with the visualization, and I'm a bit of an open book with my coaching journey too, on where that takes me. People go, "Oh, you're coaching now. You want to be a senior coach?" I don't know. Fags does an incredible job with the being a senior coach. Bevo, same thing. All the coaches I've had through my career, I've learnt so much from. Is that for me? Maybe. Don't know. I'm 2 years into my coaching career. I'm a bit of an open book, so we'll see how it goes.
Dale, thank you so much for coming on the Scoreboard podcast today. Very much appreciate you taking your time and giving us the journey of Dale Morris and where it might lead, and looking forward to catching up.
No worries. Thanks for having me.